The palace of Queen Arithia was quiet that morning, but the calm felt fragile, as if it were holding its breath. The sun had barely risen, and golden light spilled across the tall towers and shimmering domes. Inside the grand halls, the servants moved in silent rhythm, attending to their duties, careful not to disturb the queen. For years, Queen Arithia had ruled her empire with wisdom and grace, but even she could not hide the shadow that had lingered over her heart. Her daughter, Princess Liara, had been missing for nearly 7 years. Every day, the queen had searched for hope, sending scouts, spies, and ships into distant corners of the galaxy, yet none had returned with news of her child. The memory of that day still haunted the queen. Liara had been only 13 when she vanished. A sudden storm during a royal exploration mission had thrown the young princess and her companions into unknown space. The palace had mourned her as lost, but Arithia had refused to give up hope. She had learned over time that hope alone could keep one alive, even when despair seemed endless. That morning, however, the silence of the palace was broken by something no one could have predicted. From the sky, a ship approached, not one of the Empire's own, but a small, unusual craft unlike any the royal engineers had ever seen. Its metal was scratched and weathered, and its engines hummed with a soft, uneven pulse. It drifted closer to the palace, guided with skill and care, and landed gracefully in the central courtyard. From the ship emerged a figure that made the queen freeze in disbelief. Liara, her daughter, the same girl who had vanished years ago, now grown into a young woman with hair like flowing silver threads and eyes that shimmered like emeralds. She was not alone. 2 small figures clung to her hands, humans. The palace guards, accustomed to alien visitors from distant worlds, stared in shock. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, and even rarer in the palace itself. Their skin was pale, their features simple, yet there was something about them, an aura of courage, intelligence, and warmth that made them impossible to ignore. "Your Majesty," Liara called softly, her voice steady and calm despite the years of absence. "I have returned." "Who are these children?" the queen asked, her voice a mixture of fear and curiosity. "And how did you come to have them with you?" "I met them on a world far from our own, and I have returned with them to share what I have learned and to protect our home." Yet here they were, standing beside the missing princess, appearing calm and strong, ready to face the alien empire without fear. The queen moved closer, studying the humans. Mara was small and wiry, with dark hair tied back in a simple braid. Her eyes were bright and alert, filled with curiosity. Elias, slightly older, had a quiet, steady demeanor that radiated thoughtfulness. They were ordinary in appearance, yet something in their posture suggested experience beyond their years. "Liara," the queen said, her voice trembling with a mixture of hope and caution, "explain to me where you have been all these years and how you came to bring humans into our palace." "This is most unusual." They had survived there for years alone, using nothing but their wits and courage. I learned from them just as they learned from me. "They taught me that survival is not just about strength or weapons," Liara continued. "It is about intelligence, creativity, and the courage to face the impossible. They showed me that even the smallest, most underestimated beings can make a difference in a dangerous universe. That is why I have returned, not just for myself, but to bring their knowledge and spirit here to protect our empire." A guard stepped forward, uneasy. "Your Majesty, shall we detain them? We do not know these beings. They could be dangerous." Their small hands gripped Liara's with quiet determination. Their eyes reflected honesty and courage. Perhaps it was their calm in the face of alien scrutiny, or the way they moved with alertness and purpose, but the queen sensed that these beings were indeed extraordinary. "Very well," the queen said finally, her voice firm. "You shall be guests in this palace. You will have food, shelter, and protection. But know this, our empire is cautious. Trust is earned, not given." Over the next few hours, the palace began to stir with curiosity. Nobles whispered in corridors, servants peeked from behind doors, and guards exchanged incredulous glances. The princess had returned, yes, but with humans? The idea seemed impossible, yet it was true. Liara took her mother's hand and led her to a private chamber. There, she explained more about the humans' abilities. "They can think in ways we do not expect," she said. "They improvise solutions, use tools creatively, and remain calm when danger seems overwhelming. Mara and Elias survived for years in conditions that would have defeated many of our people. Their intelligence and courage are their weapons." She had ruled over countless worlds, witnessed technologies and species more advanced than humans, Yet here were two beings who had endured and thrived where many would have failed. "That is why I brought them," Liara said. "Our empire faces threats that cannot always be met with power alone. We need more than strength. We need ingenuity, resilience, and courage, the qualities humans possess in abundance." Guests and guards alike could not stop talking about the humans and their unexpected arrival. Liara walked through the halls with Myra and Elias, showing them the grandeur of the empire she had been born into but left behind. They moved with quiet respect, taking in the vast spaces, the shimmering walls, and the elegant alien designs. Though the palace was magnificent, it was not home. Home for them was the bond they shared, a bond built on survival, trust, and courage. That night the queen gazed out from her balcony, looking at the stars that stretched endlessly above the empire. Somewhere out there, countless worlds spun in darkness, full of danger and opportunity. And yet in her heart she felt hope, a hope she had not dared to feel for years. Her daughter had returned, stronger than ever, and with her came a new kind of power, the unexpected strength of humanity. In the quiet of the night, the palace seemed to breathe with possibility. The humans slept peacefully, unaware of the whispers and the awe they had inspired. They were small, yes, and unfamiliar, but the queen knew the truth. These children carried a spark that could light the darkest corners of the galaxy. They were clever, brave, and resilient, and they had the courage to stand beside her daughter, ready to face whatever challenges the universe might send next. For the first time in many years, Queen Aurithia allowed herself to believe that her empire could endure anything. Not through sheer force alone, not through rules or weapons, but through courage, intelligence, and the spirit of those who refused to be underestimated. Humanity had arrived, and with it, a new chapter in the history of the empire was beginning. And so, the first day of their return passed in quiet wonder. But in the shadows of the palace, unknown eyes watched, and unknown threats waited. The universe was vast, unpredictable, and full of danger. Yet for Liara, Mara, and Elias there was no fear, only determination. They had survived before, and they would survive again. Together, they would show the galaxy that courage and ingenuity could change everything. And thus began the story of the princess, her two human children, and the empire that was about to learn that sometimes the smallest, most underestimated beings carry the greatest power of all. The morning after the princess's return, the palace was alive with whispers. Nobles hurried through the halls, speaking in hushed tones about the humans and their sudden appearance. Queen Aurithia, however, focused only on Liara and the two children who had captured her curiosity and admiration. She had insisted they meet privately, to understand more about the humans who had survived where her own people might have failed. Liara led Mara and Elias to the palace library, a vast hall filled with ancient texts, glowing holograms, and alien knowledge from across the galaxy. It was a place of learning, strategy, and secrets. For the humans, it was overwhelming. The walls shimmered with information, and the air smelled faintly of polished metal and ink. Yet they walked confidently, their small hands brushing over the surfaces as if seeking to absorb knowledge by touch. "These humans," Liara began, speaking to her mother while keeping a careful eye on Mara and Elias, "have lived in a world with nothing but survival to guide them. They understand danger, improvisation, and resourcefulness in ways our empire rarely experiences. I have learned much from them, and I think our empire can, too." Mara and Elias had already begun to examine the holographic displays, curious but careful. The humans did not rush, did not panic at the alien technology, and their attention to detail was remarkable. Even without formal training in the Empire's ways, they absorbed information like sponges. "You speak highly of them," the Queen said, "but we must see if this is true. Our empire is vast and complex. It is not enough to survive a deserted planet. Can they navigate our world and its challenges?" A small group of scouts returning from the outer borders had detected something unusual. A small vessel, barely detectable on radar, drifting near the Empire's edge. The guards and generals quickly gathered, preparing for inspection. The Queen called Liara and the humans to join her, curious to see their reactions. The scouts arrived shortly after, reporting that the vessel's engines were damaged, its design primitive but clever. It had clearly come from a world unfamiliar to the Empire. The Queen turned to her daughter. "Liara, what do you make of this? Could it be a threat?" But danger does not always announce itself with weapons. Sometimes it comes quietly, in clever ways that most do not expect. I think the humans may understand it better than we do. If we approach carefully, we can understand what it's carrying without harm. Her empire had thousands of skilled analysts and strategists, yet these children spoke with clarity and caution beyond their years. Their logic was sharp, their thinking precise. Even Liara, born into the empire, had learned from them. "Very well," the queen said. "We will proceed as you suggest. Mara, Elias, guide our scouts." The aliens who accompanied them whispered among themselves, impressed by the humans' ease and efficiency. When they arrived at the vessel, it drifted silently, a dark shape against the backdrop of stars. Its metal was scratched and dented, and small puffs of smoke escaped from its hull. Mara examined the outer structure while Elias prepared a tether line for a careful boarding. "This is clever engineering," Mara said softly. "It's simple but functional. Whoever built it thought ahead, making it repairable with minimal tools. It tells us they are intelligent and not reckless. We must consider why. If mishandled, it could destroy this section of space. We need to secure it carefully." "It was meant to be sent here," Elias said. "It is a message, a test. Someone wants us to see it, to respond in a certain way, but they did not expect us to handle it safely. That is where humans come in." Her daughter had not only returned, but she had returned with humans who could think differently, adapt quickly, and handle dangers that even the most skilled alien minds might fail to manage. The Empire's strength had always been in technology and rules. Humans brought something new: creativity, courage, and resourcefulness. When the vessel's secrets were fully uncovered, the Queen convened a council in the palace. Liara and the humans were present, standing confidently among the Empire's most important leaders. Mara explained the findings. The vessel had been designed as a trap, meant to test the Empire's response. If mishandled, it could have caused widespread destruction. Elias detailed how they had avoided the danger, noting that traditional approaches would have failed. The council members were stunned. Some whispered doubts, while others openly praised the humans' actions. The Queen rose, addressing them all. "You have seen today what I have long suspected," she said. "Strength is not only measured by size, power, or technology. Sometimes the smallest and most underestimated beings can hold the greatest power within them. These humans, children of Liara, have demonstrated that courage, intelligence, and quick thinking can protect us where brute force alone cannot." Even the most skeptical generals could not deny the truth. The humans had saved the Empire from a hidden threat. They had done so not through strength alone, but through ingenuity and calm under pressure. Liara placed a hand on Mara's shoulder and Elias' back. "These children have taught me much," she said. "They have shown me that there are ways to face challenges that our empire has never considered. We are stronger together, humans and aliens alike. We must embrace this new perspective, for it may be the key to our survival in the galaxy's unpredictable expanse." They understood that their survival, their journey across distant worlds, had prepared them for this moment. They were ready to stand beside the princess and the queen, facing challenges that no one else could anticipate. As the council meeting ended, Liara guided the humans back through the palace. Outside, the sun was dipping toward the horizon, painting the towers in gold and crimson. The Empire's citizens looked on from afar, whispering about the humans, the princess, and the unexpected return that had shaken the palace to its core. For the first time, Mara and Elias felt a sense of belonging. They were no longer alone on a distant planet, surviving by chance. They had allies, a purpose, and a family that embraced them. And the Empire, vast and powerful, was beginning to recognize that human courage and ingenuity could be its most valuable strength. That night, as the humans rested in quarters provided by the palace, Liara spoke quietly. "Tomorrow, you will see that the Empire is not ready for what is coming. But do not worry, you have survived far worse. And together, we will show them that strength comes in many forms, not just power or weapons." He thought of the years they had survived on the distant planet, the challenges they had overcome, and the lessons they had learned. The galaxy was vast, filled with threats and wonders alike, but they were prepared. Not because of strength alone, but because of courage, intelligence, and the bond they shared. As the palace slept under the blanket of stars, a sense of quiet anticipation filled the air. The humans had arrived, and their presence would change the course of the Empire. The first steps had been taken, and the galaxy would soon see that even the smallest beings could alter destiny. And so, the second day of Liara's return ended with hope, strategy, and the undeniable promise of human courage. The palace had witnessed a glimpse of what was possible when underestimated beings were given a chance to show their strength. Mara and Elias, once strangers to the stars, were now poised to teach an entire empire that intelligence, resourcefulness, and bravery could shine brighter than the mightiest weapons. The universe, vast and unpredictable, had just begun to learn that lesson. The morning light spilled across the palace towers, but a sense of unease lingered in the air. Queen Aurithia paced slowly in her private chambers, her thoughts tangled with worry and anticipation. The previous day had revealed something important. Humans, small and underestimated, could think in ways the Empire had never considered. But she knew the galaxy was unpredictable, and survival required more than cleverness. It required courage under pressure. Liara entered quietly, Mara and Elias close behind her. The princess's eyes were steady, filled with determination. "Mother," she said, "we have learned that the mercenaries who took me years ago are not finished. They have formed alliances, and their ships are approaching the outer colonies. They mean to strike at the heart of the Empire, and they will not be stopped by force alone. They can anticipate danger, improvise solutions, and remain calm when others panic. I trust them to guide our preparations in ways the Empire has not yet considered." Soon, the palace was a hive of activity. Generals and strategists gathered in the war room, large displays showing maps of the Empire and the approaching fleet of mercenaries. The humans observed silently, taking in the information with careful attention. Mara's eyes scanned the projections, noting weak points in the Empire's borders and possible escape routes for civilians. Elias calculated distances, speeds, and timing, creating patterns that none of the alien generals had seen before. One of the senior generals, a tall alien with sharp features and a voice like gravel, frowned. "These calculations are unusual. They do not follow our standard protocols. How can we trust them?" "You have to watch and learn. Humans see possibilities where we see limitations. They think differently, and that difference may save us. If we set traps, distractions, and false signals, we can slow their advance and protect the civilians." Their training had always emphasized strict rules and predictable strategies. Yet as they listened to the humans, they began to see the logic in their suggestions. It was daring, different, and risky, but it might work. Queen Aurithia turned to her daughter. "Liara, I will leave this in your hands. Show me that their methods can protect the Empire." "We will do more than protect it. We will show the galaxy that humans are a force to be reckoned with." But Mara and Elias remained calm. They analyzed the ship's formations, pointing out weaknesses in their approach. "They are too focused on speed," Mara said. "They do not account for small, agile ships hiding near asteroids. We can use those to our advantage. If we jam them selectively, we can create confusion and force them to divide their fleet. They will not expect coordinated resistance from weak humans." Alien warships engaged the mercenary fleet head-on, as expected, while Mara and Elias guided small, human-crewed ships through hidden paths. They used asteroids, gravity fields, and unexpected maneuvers to disrupt the mercenaries' formations. The aliens were astonished as their calculations and strategies were upended by the humans' ingenuity. A particularly daring move involved Mara piloting a small scout vessel into a narrow asteroid field, drawing several mercenary ships into a trap. Elias had already prepared a timed gravitational pulse, causing the asteroids to shift and block the enemy's path. The mercenaries were forced to retreat, damaged and confused, while the humans emerged unscathed. Even the queen watched in awe from the palace. Her daughter's children, once thought fragile and insignificant, had turned the tide of battle in the outer colonies. They had not relied on superior firepower or technology, but on clever thinking, strategy, and calm courage. As the day progressed, the humans continued to guide the Empire's forces. They organized civilian evacuations, reinforced vulnerable stations, and created diversions that left the mercenaries frustrated and off balance. Their presence transformed the Empire's response from rigid and predictable to flexible and adaptive. One of the alien generals, who had initially doubted them, approached the Queen privately. "Your Majesty," he said, "I did not believe it at first. But these humans, they are remarkable. Their ideas, their calm under pressure, their ability to anticipate the enemy, I have never seen anything like it. They are changing the course of this battle. The Empire is learning a new kind of power today." Liara gathered the humans for a brief moment of rest. "Tomorrow," she said, "the mercenaries will try something new. They will not expect us to anticipate their moves so quickly. We must be ready. We have allies and we have knowledge. That makes all the difference." Strength was not only in power or numbers, it was in creativity, courage, and the ability to act when others hesitated. Meanwhile, in the darkness beyond the outer colonies, the mercenary leaders convened on their command ship. They were frustrated, surprised, and growing wary. Their calculations had assumed weakness, predictability, and fear. Instead, they had encountered human ingenuity, calm determination, and unexpected strategy. They realized that they had underestimated not just Liara but the humans who had returned with her. "We need a new plan," one mercenary growled. "These humans, they think differently, they adapt. We cannot rely on our usual tactics. We underestimated them because they are small, fragile, and alien to our expectations. But they are dangerous in ways we cannot predict." Scouts, soldiers, and citizens alike were learning to see the value of thinking beyond tradition. Humans had become teachers, showing that survival and victory often came not from power alone, but from courage, intelligence, and flexibility. That night, as the stars stretched endlessly above the Empire, Mara and Elias reflected on their journey. From a distant planet where survival was a daily struggle to the heart of an advanced alien empire, they had discovered a new purpose. They were not only survivors, they were pioneers, teachers, and guardians, and together with Liara and the Queen, they were ready to face whatever the galaxy would throw at them. The Empire had seen the first signs of human brilliance, and the mercenaries had learned not to underestimate those who appeared small, fragile, or unlikely. The galaxy was vast, filled with danger and uncertainty, but the humans had proven that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could change outcomes where power alone failed. And so the battle for the outer colonies ended not with the mightiest weapons, but with clever thinking, teamwork, and the unexpected courage of two humans who had defied all expectations. The Queen, the Princess, and the Empire had witnessed the first demonstration of human strength, a strength that would continue to grow as the mercenaries advanced, unaware of the true power they faced. The night was quiet, but the stars hinted at the challenges yet to come. The humans had survived the first wave, but the real test was only beginning. Mara and Elias, once strangers to the galaxy, were now its silent heroes, ready to show that even the smallest beings could change the fate of empires. The morning sun rose over the Empire, casting long golden rays across the palace towers. Outside, the first signs of the mercenary fleet appeared, cutting through the void like dark streaks of shadow. The humans, Mara and Elias, stood beside Liara on the palace observation deck, scanning the horizon with calm determination. This time, the threat was larger, more organized, and far more dangerous than the skirmishes of the outer colonies. Yet neither of them flinched. They had survived impossible odds before. They had faced death and uncertainty, and now they were ready to face it again, this time to protect an entire empire. Liara turned to the Queen, who had joined them silently. "Mother," she said, "they have brought their full fleet. This will not be easy, but we are ready. You will see how humans can turn even the most desperate situation to their advantage." "They are confident because they think we will respond predictably," she said. "They do not realize we have already studied them. We will use their assumptions against them." "Show them then." Mara and Elias quickly coordinated small units of agile ships, moving through asteroid fields and gravity wells that the mercenaries had overlooked. The first surprise came when Mara piloted a ship close to a massive asteroid cluster. The mercenary ships pursued, confident in their superior numbers. Then, Elias activated the hidden gravitational field of the asteroids. The rocks shifted slightly, creating a maze of obstacles. Ships that had seemed invincible were forced to maneuver desperately, colliding with debris or each other. The mercenaries did not expect it. They had counted on straight lines, not unpredictability. The Empire's soldiers watched in amazement. What the humans were doing went against everything they had been trained to believe. Rules, formations, and rigid strategies could be broken, and still the defenders could survive. The humans had shown them that flexibility and courage could change outcomes where power alone failed. Meanwhile, Liara directed the palace defense, using Mara and Elias' guidance. She coordinated the larger ships to strike only where the humans indicated, conserving energy and resources while maximizing impact. The aliens' conventional approach had been transformed into something new, unpredictable, creative, and precise. One of the mercenary leaders, observing from the bridge of his flagship, frowned. "These humans, they think differently. They anticipate, they adapt. Our calculations are failing." He turned to his officers. We underestimated them. Focus fire on the princess, take them out, and the humans will follow. Using small, fast ships, they created decoys, drawing the attackers away from the main fleet and toward traps designed to slow them down. Explosions erupted among the mercenary ranks, but not from direct attacks. Rather, they were caused by clever manipulation of the environment, asteroid collisions, gravitational pulses, and controlled energy releases. The humans had turned the battlefield itself into a weapon. In the palace war room, generals muttered among themselves. "We would never have thought of this," one said. "These humans, they are teaching us something entirely new." Her empire had always relied on strength and precision, but today it had learned a new kind of power: courage, intelligence, and adaptability. The humans embodied all three, showing that even those considered small and fragile could turn the tide of war. As the battle raged, Mara noticed a concentration of enemy ships attempting to flank the palace defenses. She turned to Elias. "We can stop them, but we need a coordinated strike. Follow my lead." Liara coordinated with them, giving commands to larger ships that struck at the same time. The mercenary fleet, confident in their superiority, began to crumble under the combined effect of intelligence, courage, and unexpected tactics. Back on the palace observation deck, the queen felt a surge of hope. "They are incredible," she whispered. "Humans are incredible." Ships were disabled, formations broken, and morale shaken. They had underestimated not just Liara, but the humans who had returned with her. The queen convened a brief council to assess the situation. Generals reported that the outer colonies were secure, and civilian casualties were minimal thanks to the humans' guidance. Liara presented the humans' strategies and highlighted the critical role they had played in the defense. One general, still in disbelief, said, "I have never seen beings so small, so young, change the course of a battle for an entire empire. They are extraordinary." Sometimes it is in intelligence, courage, and the willingness to act when others hesitate. Mara and Elias reviewed the day's events, analyzing weaknesses, anticipating future moves, and planning new strategies. They understood that the mercenaries would return stronger, smarter, and more determined. "We need to be ready for whatever comes next," Mara said. "They will not make the same mistakes again. We have learned, we have adapted, and we have shown them what humans can do. The Empire has seen our strength. They will not forget it." They had turned the tide of battle, protected the Empire, and shown that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could overcome even the most formidable threats. In the quiet of the night, the stars stretched endlessly above the palace. Mara and Elias rested, but their minds were active, thinking, planning, preparing. They were no longer strangers to the Empire. They were its guardians, teachers, and heroes. The Empire had witnessed the first true demonstration of human ingenuity in the face of overwhelming odds. The mercenaries had learned that underestimating humans was a dangerous mistake. And the queen, her daughter, and the Empire itself had learned a valuable lesson. That strength could take many forms, and sometimes the smallest beings could wield the greatest power. As the palace slept under the blanket of stars, the humans reflected on their journey. From a distant, lonely planet to the heart of an alien empire, they had discovered that courage, intelligence, and teamwork were their greatest weapons. And together with Liara and the Queen, they were ready to face the challenges yet to come, no matter how impossible they seemed. The galaxy, vast and unpredictable, had just begun to understand the power of humanity. The morning sun bathed the palace in a golden glow, but the calm was deceptive. Word had spread that the mercenaries were regrouping, larger and more determined than before. Their ships had repaired damaged systems, and their leaders were furious. They saw the humans not as small, fragile children, but as a dangerous force that had humiliated them in the first wave. Queen Arithia stood on the observation deck with Liara, Mara, and Elias. The humans had become her trusted advisors, their opinions shaping decisions that had once been the sole domain of seasoned generals. She felt a deep sense of pride and hope, tempered by the reality that the battle was far from over. Liara placed her hands on Mara and Elias. "This is it," she said. "They will come again, but we are ready. Remember what you've done before. Trust your instincts, and we will show the galaxy what humans can achieve." "We can do this." They predicted where the mercenaries would strike, suggested unconventional maneuvers, and found ways to turn environmental factors into advantages. One of the alien generals whispered to another, "I have served the Empire for decades. I thought I knew strategy, But these humans, they see possibilities we do not. It is remarkable. They advanced with aggression, expecting a straightforward battle. But Mara and Elias had prepared something entirely different. Small, agile ships hid in asteroid clusters. Gravitational fields had been adjusted to create unpredictable obstacles. Communication jammers would scramble enemy coordination. The humans' plan was bold, risky, and brilliant. Liara commanded the Empire's fleet with confidence, following the humans' guidance. "Deploy the smaller units first," she instructed. "Use the asteroids to our advantage, force them into confusion before the main fleet strikes." Mara piloted one of the smaller ships, weaving through narrow gaps with precision. Each movement was calculated to draw the enemy deeper into a maze of danger. Elias coordinated timing from a central control station, activating hidden energy fields to block key escape routes. The mercenaries, confident in their numbers and firepower, were thrown into chaos. Their attacks became disorganized, their formations fractured, and their morale began to falter. Even seasoned generals watched in awe. The humans had turned the battlefield itself into a weapon. They had taken advantage of unpredictability, creativity, and intelligence, proving that strength was not only in numbers or technology, but in the ability to think differently. One mercenary ship broke formation and attempted a direct assault on the palace. Mara acted instantly, piloting her ship in a daring intercept. Using a combination of speed and precision, she forced the enemy vessel away from the palace, guiding it toward a trap where gravitational forces immobilized it. Elias' calculations ensured that the trap activated at exactly the right moment, neutralizing the threat without causing unnecessary destruction. Liara's voice carried over the comm system. "Excellent work. Maintain pressure but conserve energy for the final push." They had assumed that small, fragile beings could not influence the outcome of a galactic battle. Now, they were seeing firsthand that intelligence, courage, and adaptability could turn the tide against even the most powerful fleet. As the battle continued, Mara and Elias directed more strikes, guiding small ships to critical positions. They coordinated with Liara to time attacks so that the enemy was always reacting, never acting on its own terms. Each maneuver was precise, efficient, and effective. The Queen watched quietly, her heart swelling with pride. Her daughter's humans were not only defending the Empire, they were teaching it a lesson about courage and intelligence. They had proven that even the most underestimated beings could achieve greatness when given trust and responsibility. By mid-afternoon, the mercenary fleet was in full retreat. Their losses were heavy, their morale broken, and their confidence shattered. The humans had not only defended the Empire, but had done so in a way that minimized casualties and preserved resources. Liara, Mara, and Elias stood on the observation deck, watching the retreating ships. The humans exchanged a glance, a quiet acknowledgement of their shared effort and triumph. They had faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious, not through sheer strength, but through cleverness, courage, and teamwork. The Queen approached them, her eyes shining. "You have done more than protect the Empire," she said. "You have changed it. You have shown everyone here that strength is not always measured by size or weapons. It is measured by intelligence, courage, and determination. That even when the odds are impossible, courage and thinking differently can make a difference. We can face anything together." Citizens, soldiers, and officials alike hailed the humans and their princess. News of the victory spread quickly, inspiring admiration and hope throughout the Empire. The humans, once outsiders, had become heroes. Their ingenuity and bravery had saved countless lives and proven the value of courage and intelligence. The Queen held a ceremony to honor their contributions. She presented Mara and Elias with medallions of the Empire, symbols of recognition for their extraordinary service. She spoke to the assembled crowd, her voice carrying across the palace. "Today, we have witnessed something remarkable," she said. "Two humans, once strangers to our empire, have shown us that courage, intelligence, and determination can overcome even the greatest dangers. They remind us that greatness can come from the most unexpected places. From this day forward, they are honored members of our empire, and their actions will be remembered for generations." Their courage and intelligence had made a lasting impact, showing that even the smallest beings could influence the fate of worlds. As the celebration continued, Liara approached her mother. "They have proven their worth," she said softly, "and they have taught us a lesson that will shape the future of this empire. They have reminded us that strength is not only in technology or numbers, but in creativity, courage, and resilience. The Empire is stronger because they are a part of it. From a distant, lonely planet to the heart of an advanced empire, they had faced unimaginable challenges and emerged victorious. They had survived not only the dangers of the universe, but also the doubts of an entire civilization. And they had proven that courage, intelligence, and resourcefulness could change the course of history. Liara stood beside them, her gaze on the horizon. "This is only the beginning," she said. "The galaxy is vast and there will be more challenges, but with courage, intelligence, and unity we can face anything. You have shown us that even the smallest beings can achieve greatness, and that is a lesson the galaxy must learn." They had shown that even those considered small, fragile, or underestimated could change the fate of an entire empire. And so, the story of Princess Liara and her human children reached its triumphant conclusion. The mercenaries had been defeated, the empire was safe, and humanity had proven its value on a galactic stage. Mara and Elias had shown that intelligence, courage, and determination were the greatest weapons of all. They had changed the perception of humans forever, leaving a legacy of hope, inspiration, and strength. The Empire, once bound by tradition and rigid thinking, had learned that greatness could come from the most unexpected places. And the humans, once strangers from a distant world, had become its most unexpected champions. As the stars shone above, the Queen, her daughter, and the humans looked to the future. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown challenges, but they were ready. Together, they would face whatever came next, united by courage, intelligence, and the unshakable belief that even the smallest beings could make the greatest difference. And so, the Empire entered a new era, stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before, all because of the courage and ingenuity of two humans, and the daughter who had returned to show the galaxy that greatness comes in many forms.